Making headlines first at 9. Closing loopholes. Elections Commission briefs party representatives on technical shortcomings of the election law. Also making headlines, plot thickens. Subject Minister Kabir Hashim says he is unaware of Sri Lankan Airlines Director Board's resignations. Pushing for punishments. Minister Susil Premachandra says immediate legal action possible against those responsible in the controversial bond issuances. Assuring quality. Sri Lanka Tea Board Chairman assures 100% disinfected containers of tea shipments to Russia. Russia to send technical team for evaluations.
We have agreed that we will in future have 100% disinfection of all containers in which tea is shipped.
Rare joy. England enjoys a rare good day against Australia during the second day's play of the fourth Ashes Test. Good evening, bringing you news from across Sri Lanka and around the world on Other Derana 24/7. I'm Indiva Riyamuatta. We begin with your top story tonight. Chairman of Sri Lanka Tea Board, Rohan Pethiagoda, says that the Sri Lankan government has agreed to carry out 100% disinfection of containers for tea shipments to Russia in the near future, following the recent tea fiasco which prompted Russia to impose a ban on Sri Lankan tea recently. A team of technical experts from Russia is expected to visit Sri Lanka in late January next year for familiarization with the current plant quarantine procedure in the country. The Russian team is expected to remain in the island until mid-February. Meanwhile, Ambassador of Sri Lanka to Russia, Dr. Saman Veerasinghe, has said that the government assures that such an incident will not be repeated in future. Russia decided to lift its ban on imports of Sri Lankan agro products, including Ceylon tea, on Sunday.
Russia placed temporary restrictions on imports of tea and all other agricultural products from Sri Lanka on the 18th of December after an insect known as the capra beetle was found in the packaging of one consignment of tea. Following Russia's announcement, President Maithripala Sirisena wrote to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin seeking a lift of the restrictions. Meanwhile, in a bid to create a conducive environment for negotiations to overturn the ban imposed by Russia, the Cabinet of Ministers decided on the 19th to defer the proposed ban on asbestos imports, which was due to come into effect on the 1st of January 2018 until further review. Speaking at the recent cabinet media briefing, Minister of Plantations Industries Navin Disanayake hinted a link between Sri Lanka's decision to lift the ban on asbestos imports and ongoing efforts to have Russian restrictions lifted. Russian-produced asbestos hold the largest market share in Sri Lanka, while Ceylon tea accounts for 23% of Russia's tea market. In light of the situation, a team of 9 members comprising representatives from the Ministry of Plantation Industries and Ceylon Tea Board left for Russia on the 24th of this month. During the discussion between officials from both countries on the following day at the Russian Plant Quarantine Institute in Moscow, the Sri Lankan side assured that it would take stringent measures to further strengthen the current phytosanitary procedures to avoid any repetition. According to a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the average time in reconsidering such restrictions on imports imposed by the Federal Service for veterinary and phytosanitary surveillance is up to 3 to 4 months or more. Following negotiations between the Sri Lanka Tea Board delegation and the Rosal-Kuznetsov officials on the 25th of this month, views were expressed on the matter.
Immediately we were informed by the Russian side. The warehouse from which the tea was shipped was investigated, but no pests were found, so we concluded, as did the Russian authorities, that the pest was actually found in the container and not in made tea. So to give additional assurance to both the government of the Russian Federation and also the consumers of Ceylon tea in Russia, we have agreed that we will in future have 100% disinfection of all containers in which tea is shipped, firstly, and secondly, that we will have a 100% inspection, phytosanitary inspection of every single consignment in the future.
We conducted very successful negotiations. I would like to take this opportunity to express gratitude to the Rosal-Kuznetsov for resolving the issue and within a very short period. Today, the Sri Lankan side assured our Russian counterpart that such an incident would not be repeated in the future. We were seeking solutions like we did when analogous restrictions were imposed to India. Today, we remedied the situation in the same way, which is why we find it possible to resume trade operations with effect from the 30th of December. Without a doubt, the danger posed by the Capra beetle found in Ceylon tea consignment is actually very serious to the Russian Federation. The nature of concern was bilateral and justified.
On the developments at the national carrier, Minister of Public Enterprise Development Kabir Hashim reveals that he is still unaware of the resignation of some of the members of the debt-ridden national carrier's executive board. Chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines Ajit Dias and 6 directors recently tendered their resignation letters in support of the government's restructure initiative. Meanwhile, addressing a media briefing yesterday, State Minister of Public Enterprises Development Lakshmanyapa Abewardena said that the airline will receive a cash infusion in hope of reviving it.
On the 24th of this month, 6 out of 7 board members of Sri Lankan Airlines tendered their resignations to facilitate the formulation and appointment of a new board of directors. Among the outgoing board of directors are Chairman Ajit Dias and directors Joseph Brito, Shanaka De Silva, Mahinda Haradasa, Rakita Jayawardena and Niranjan De Silva Deva Aditya, who were appointed in 2015. It was reported that the remaining member of the board of directors, Harendra K. Balapatapandi, has not resigned from his post. On the very same day, news of these resignations broke out. President Maithripala Sirisena announced that a presidential commission will be appointed on the first week of January to probe corruption and fraud allegedly perpetrated at Sri Lankan Airlines and Mihin Lanka.
Sri Lankan ගුවන් සේවයේ මිහින්නයා පුදුමාකාර විදිහට දූෂණයට ලක්වෙච්ච රාජ්‍ය වත්කම් රාජ්‍ය දේපල මුදල් අවභාවිතය දූෂණයට ලක්වෙච්ච ආයතනයක් සෑම කෙනෙක්ම දන්නවා. අද ශ්‍රී ලංකන් ගුවන් සේවය පවත්වාගෙන යන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයට පත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. අද බිලියන් 60ක් 65ක් වෙනවා ගෙවන්න තියෙන ණය ප්‍රමාණය. ඒ නිසා තමයි අපි ගුවන් සේවයේ උනේ මොනවද සිදුවේ කුමක්ද ඒ සඳහා කළ යුත්තේ කුමක්ද කියලා සොයාගන්න කොමිසම් සභාවක් පත් කරන්න තීරණය කළා තිබෙන්නේ.
When journalists inquired into the current development of the restructuring process of the national carrier, Minister of Public Enterprise Development Kabir Hashim said that he was unaware of the resignation of the board.
I was unaware of the resignation of the executive board. I was not officially informed. Neither was my ministry nor the secretary to the ministry was informed. I only got to know about this through media.
Meanwhile, State Minister of Public Enterprises Development Lakshmanyapa Abewardena said that the cabinet has approved $175 million to be obtained from Credit Suisse in a bid to assist the debt-ridden national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines.
We will be appointing a board in the near future. Furthermore, Credit Suisse will provide a loan of $125 million to Sri Lankan Airlines, for which the cabinet has given approval. Furthermore, an additional $50 million as a short-term loan will also be given. If we are obtaining loans, it must be done in a manner that will not burden the treasury and should make this a profitable organisation as soon as possible.
As the local government election is getting nearer, political parties as well as government officials who are assigned for election processes are gearing up to take over their given duties. A special discussion regarding the legal framework of the upcoming election was held at the Election Commission's head office in Rajagiriya today. The Commission informed all political parties that exhibition of posters and flags is only limited to relevant election offices set up at the division.
Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne, who is assigned for the local government election, political party representatives and officials of the Election Commission sat in through the discussion. Political representatives expressed views to media following the 2-hour-long discussion.
They said not to put up posters anywhere. One election office will be established for each division and posters with party leader's photo and the relevant candidate are allowed to be put up. Less than 10 candidates will be allowed to do canvassing. Seems like rules are quite strict for the candidates, but we will respect the decision by the Commission. There is no problem among us. We'll talk about it after the election. We came to an agreement that house loans shouldn't be granted during the election period. We also agreed to stop activities of Samurdhi societies until the election. This order will be given for agriculture research assistant managers and societies. Those who make these comments are the ones who did that months or years ago. Will a community member change his or her vote just because a politician changed their party? According to the Election Act, votes must be counted in the relevant election centre. I think the Election Commission is concerned as to how it can implement all these security measures for all these centres. Usually only about 2 or 3 police constables can be allocated per centre, and there's doubt whether they can do it successfully. We ask for government support on this. Shouldn't it be the other way around, where the loser asks the winner to join them?
Meanwhile, the police say that 25 election complaints and 12 instances of election law flouting are reported so far.
Candidates are allowed to showcase their posters and flags only on the vehicle they are travelling in and premises where the election meetings are conducted. They could showcase these in their offices set up for the election. All female candidates should go to the nearby police station if they face an issue. The hotline for emergencies will be 011 302 4884. Only 10 people can go for house-to-house canvassing.
Meanwhile, UMP organiser for Borella North, JHU Pushpakumara, filed a complaint at the Election Commission today. He claims the nomination requested by him was rejected by the party in order to give the opportunity for another candidate.
They cut off all talented candidates and gave the opportunity for those who aren't. We will be able to see what happens during the election.
Meanwhile, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the members of the joint opposition expressed views on the upcoming local government elections.
That would never happen. It's a complete lie. As the patron, I'm clearly asking for them to sever ties with the UNP. That's very good. They should investigate everything. But I think they're appointing most of the commissions to probe into the issues by the current government. Well, that's what they say, so we're going to watch what's going to happen. All those who are against the government will gather around the flower bud, because all other parties gave their support to establish a UNP government. If someone is saying that the current government's activities are not right, then they should vote for the flower bud. Yes, there are a few prominent members who are going to join us. This upcoming election will be the most decisive election that is going to be held in our 153-year political history. Are we going to lift this country, which has seen its downfall because of 5 leaders who govern it? The country has become like the cricket team, where there were 5 captains and 4 coaches appointed within 2.5 years. The subject minister doesn't know of the decision taken by the cricket board. Minister doesn't know when teams are going abroad. Just like that, we have 6 leaders to make decisions for the country. They are protecting the UNP Prime Minister and the UNP government within the parliament. But they make sure that the UNP Pradesh Sabha is lost in an election. We are rejecting their actions because of this nonsense. And former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga has ordered several prominent members of the SLFP Working Committee that the MOU with the UNP must be extended for another year, commencing from the 31st of December. They are begging Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe that this period should be further extended.
A former Western Provincial Councillor of the National Freedom Front and a former Pradesh Sabha member of Veerakhettiya who represented the joint opposition met President Maithripala Sirisena today and pledged their allegiance. In the meantime, issues of regional media correspondence was discussed during a special media briefing or a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat today.
A number of supporters, including a former councillor of the Veerakhettiya Pradesh Sabha that represented the joint opposition, met the president this evening to pledge their support for upcoming elections. Sugat Matugamage, a former Western Provincial Councillor of the National Freedom Front who worked with the joint opposition too, pledged support to the president. In addition, Professor Mahinda Patgama, appointed as an organizer of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, also accepted his letter of appointment from the president. In the meantime, President Maithripala Sirisena gave directives to appoint a special committee to look into the issues of regional media correspondence during a discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. The committee is vested with the responsibility of producing a report with necessary recommendations within 3 months.
Minister Susil Premajayantha emphasises that Sri Lanka Freedom Party is of the stance that immediate legal action is possible against those who are responsible for the central bank bond issue once the Commission of Inquiry probing the bond issuance releases its final report. Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the central bank bond issuance is set up to release or is ready to release its final report on the 31st of December. The final report will consist of recommendations by the tri-member commission comprising Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, Justice Prasanna Jayawardena and retired Deputy Auditor General Velupulle Kandasamy. These recommendations are compiled following a comprehensive investigation into testimonies of over 60 witnesses and other evidences presented to the Commission over a period of 10 months.
According to the Presidential Commission Act, once the Commission is appointed and complete their hearings and investigations within stipulated time, they will submit the report with some recommendations. And in this particular instance, it is the Attorney General Department involved and prosecuted. So therefore, they have all the materials for them to frame charges against a responsible person or organization. So it won't take much time. That is my personal opinion.
And the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption states that 48 suspects have been arrested over the past 11 months on allegations of corruption or bribery. The Commission received 2,470 complaints regarding corruption and deemed 1,462 of them liable for inquiry. 649 cases were dismissed as they were not in accordance with the Bribery Act. 70 cases of corruption or fraud have been directed to magistrate and high courts. And Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono is scheduled to visit Sri Lanka from the 4th to the 6th of January next year. This would be the first visit of a Japanese Foreign Minister visiting Sri Lanka in 15 years. The visit is aimed at further consolidating the comprehensive partnership between Japan and Sri Lanka. During his visit, Japanese Minister Kono will call on the President, the Prime Minister and his Sri Lankan counterpart Tilak Marapana in order to discuss bilateral relations as well as regional and international matters. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the CITEM medical degree issue should be resolved in a just and reasonable manner without further delay. Issuing a communique, he says the 2 years of continuous protests and agitation by the student unions and the Government Medical Officers Association against the medical degree course offered by CITEM ended last November due to the undertaking given by the government that this medical course will be abolished. He further says that the continuation of this dispute over standards and accreditation in medical education could also place the international status of all Sri Lankan medical degrees at risk. With that, we take a look at a few other stories making news tonight in brief.
The Special Task Force of Kirinocha and Mullaitivu arrested 2 suspects who had the 10.6 kilograms of Kerala cannabis in possession during a joint search in Kanagapurama. The Department of Examination says that the results of 2017 Advanced Level Examination will be released this midnight. The Commissioner General of the department, speaking to other Derana, said that results will be released through the internet by tomorrow morning. All trade unions of the Postal Department engaged in a protest at noon today. The co-convener of the United Postal Trade Unions Front said that they are engaged in a protest against not having solutions for a number of issues of employees. An individual in Rajgiriya is arrested for possessing 4.1 grams of heroin. The 41-year-old suspect was produced before the Hulstorf magistrate today. Farmers of several areas in the country are inconvenienced by not having fertilizer for the Maha season. The farmer alleged that the government failed to provide fertilizer by the time they start their cultivations.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Neil Jayasekara, who was the refinery manager of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, assumed duties as the new acting managing director of the corporation today in the presence of Subject Minister Arjuna Ranatunga. Neil Jayasekara boasts a long and a distinguished career in the petroleum sector and was the refinery manager over the last 7 years. He was appointed as an engineer of the CPC on the 3rd of August in 1981 and was later appointed as the refinery manager in 2008. Graduated as a medical or mechanical engineer from the University of Peradeniya, he also holds a master's degree in business management. The government of the French Republic agreed to extend its assistance to Sri Lanka by providing a €13.9 million concessional loan for the implementation of development of 6 mini-dairy projects, signifying 45 years of development cooperation between the two countries today. The proposed project will include complete modernization of the pre-selected 6 mini-dairy cooperative societies and organizations by establishing state-of-the-art equipment chains to produce pasteurized milk and sterilized milk at a capacity of 4,500 litres per day. In addition, technical assistance will also be extended to dairy farmers in order to improve the breeding process by a French non-profitable entity and carry out a proper market survey on the dairy sector of Sri Lanka. It is also expected that this initiative will support the government's ambitious targets to achieve self-sufficiency in dairy production by 2020 and to contribute to closing the gap between demand and dairy for local supply. And in international news, in business, oil prices fell today after hitting a near 2.5-year high in the previous sessions, as analysts said the rally was gradually running out of steam despite supply outages in Libya and the North Sea. Brent crude futures dropped to $66.27 a barrel, down 1.15% after breaking through $67 for the first time since May 2015, the previous day. US West Texas Intermediary crude futures were at $59.53 a barrel, down 44 cents from the last settlement. And Sri Lankan shares touched a near 3-week closing high today as investors waited for cues from the central bank's monetary policy review later in the week, with trading muted by the holidays after Christmas. The all share price index ended 0.14 firmer at 6,359.06, its highest stance since 8th of December. Let's now cross over to Dimantha Matthew from First Capital Holdings for the latest.
Turnover improved during the day with lower volumes thanks to some on-board blocks of Hemas holdings, which accounted for about 40% of the turnover. Price appreciation in 80 counters led by LOLC weighted heavily on the index, negating some of the effects of the negative contributors led by Chenbi and Dialogue. A moderate foreign participation was noted, leading to a net foreign outflow from the market of around 130 million rupees.
Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. In your top stories, international news. China yesterday announced the achievements made at the first China, Afghanistan and Pakistan foreign ministers' dialogue, revealing that the three parties agreed the dialogue will be taken as an opportunity to increase mutual trust and deepen cooperation on the basis of the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi made the announcement alongside his counterparts at a media briefing following the dialogue in Beijing.
Addressing media alongside his counterparts, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said his country, along with Afghanistan and Pakistan, will work together to promote connectivity, shared prosperity and common development within the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative. As an outcome of the dialogue, the ministers agreed to promote an Afghanistan-led, Afghan-owned peace and reconstruction process involving the Taliban. They also pledged to cooperate in a range of fields like the economy, military, intelligence and refugees.
Former US President Barack Obama says the way people communicate via social media risked splintering society, and leaders had to ensure the internet did not cocoon users within their biases. In a radio interview with British Prince Harry today, Obama said that social media should promote diverse views in a way that doesn't lead to a balkanization of society.
One of the dangers of the internet is that people can have entirely different realities. They can be just cocooned in information that reinforces their current biases. The truth is that on the internet, everything is simplified. And when you meet people face to face, it turns out they're complicated. And you find areas of common ground because you see that things aren't as simple as have been portrayed in whatever chat room you've been in. And it's also, by the way, harder to be as obnoxious and cruel in person as people can be anonymously on the internet.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Moving on to sports, England enjoyed a rare good day against Australia during the second day's play of the 4th Ashes Test in Melbourne, with their opener and former captain Alistair Cook finding form. The visitors knock over Australia for 327 and at the end of the day's play was on a commanding position with 192 runs on the scoreboard for the loss of just 2 wickets.
Day 2 began with Australia 3 for 200.
Starting the day on 244 for 3, Aussie's hope of reaching 400 didn't exactly go according to plan. From the moment Captain Stephen Smith played on Tom Curran for 76, wickets started to tumble. Shaun Marsh made the day's most significant contribution with the bat for the Aussies as he added 30 to his overnight score of 31, while bringing up another half-century during the process. Unlike earlier occasions, Australia's tail didn't wag, with 5 of the last 6 batsmen falling for single digits. Eventually, Australia was all out for 327.
And Jimmy Anderson wrapping things up. Australia all out for 327.
In their reply, England lost opener Mark Stoneman early, but for fellow opener Alistair Cook, it was a different story. Much criticised for his lack of form during the tour, Cook found his feet and was imperious. The left hand ended the day on 104 but did enjoy a slice of good fortune as he was dropped by Smith in the slips off the bowling of Mitchell Marsh. England captain Joe Root was also on form and he ended the day on runs shy of half a century to leave England 192 for 2 at stumps, 135 runs behind the hosts. Tomorrow is the 3rd day of the match.
And now we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures are to vary between 18 and 30 degrees Celsius over the next 24 hours. Now, a low pressure zone will develop in the western and Sabragamo region of the island. Sunny weather is expected in most parts of the northern region as well as in areas of Colombo and Kandy. However, thundershowers may develop in the Galle area. That is it from your weather centre tonight. Let's now take a quick look at your city by city forecast.
And that's all from the other Derana News Centre for tonight. But before we go, we'd like to bring you visuals of children from London and youth from various Commonwealth countries performing for Christmas in the Guildhall in London, overlaid with royals of the United Kingdom carrying out various engagements in 2017.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.